Hey, what is up, everybody? Platform Disciple here. And before we get into everything, I will say that I've been enjoying looking at all the cards you guys have come up with for the card creation contest. In case some of you haven't heard about it, there is a video. I will probably there'll probably be a pop-up of some kind, linking to the video if you haven't seen it, explaining the contest. And you have until the end of the month to submit a card design if you haven't already. And although I love the card designs that I've already seen, there aren't that many of them. And if you haven't made a design yet, you have, a fairly good opportunity to get in on the action because just there aren't that many submissions. And the grand prize is an alternate art martyr golem, which is pretty awesome. Even if you already have martyr golems, it's a very, very high trading piece because it's a very desirable card and it's alternate art. So definitely take a shot at it if you haven't already. Anyways, what we're going to be doing today is in a previous video, I talked about how good the card Madness was and how to best take advantage of it because it was kind of a weird underused card. And today we're doing the same thing, but we're going to be talking about Alearem, who is an equally, well, maybe not equally, but very much underused weird card. And Alearem only makes any sense to use in the command zone because if she, I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with she because if you look at the Veror, the only males are like Agent Coil Soul Seller, who doesn't look like he's in great shape, and characters that are kind of like lower ranking characters, I assume these are males. The males don't look like they have it great in the Veror. So I'm assuming that Alearem, being this crystal ball wielding mastermind, is probably a female. But that's besides the point. Totally distracted myself there. Anyways, she does nothing if she's not in your command zone. She's just a 4-cost 0/10. But if you have Alearem in the command zone, at the beginning of the game, you select a turn, you predict a turn that you think you may die on, and if you die on that turn, instead your health and morale go back to full, back to 100. And that's pretty freaking nuts if you actually make the call correctly. And one thing I will say is that on release, this card prevented you from mulliganing your opening hand, but I just tested it and you can mulligan now. They fixed that. So my opinion of the card is actually substantially improved just from testing it for this video because apparently there was a bug fix that I didn't know about. But anyways, aside from that, the deck I'm showing you is a triple Veror deck. But I will give honorable mention to a combo deck that I will not be showing you today that takes advantage of Alearem, really crazy one, with Corrupted Celestial Dragon. Corrupted Celestial Dragon, if you are healed, your fortress, if it's healed, it does that much damage to your opponent. So with Alearem, if you go to 0 health and then heal back to 100, that's 100 damage to your opponent's fortress if you have Corrupted Celestial Dragon out. Pretty nuts combo, pretty hard to pull off. I don't think it's the best way to use the card. It's definitely a cool way to use the card though. Anyways, the deck I'm showing you is a typical grindy Veror control deck with a couple twists, namely Alearem, and the cards that synergize with Alearem. So we've already talked about Alearem, but with Alearem, we've brought Anger of Veroria, which helps us control when we die by dealing damage to us, and similarly, Ruins of Veroria, which does a large amount of damage to us when we play it. But in addition to that, Ruins of Veroria is exceptionally good in this deck because if we die after playing Ruins of Veroria, we have a full 100 health with this card still out, which makes it almost impossible to make a comeback for any deck that plans on winning through attacking with characters. Let's break down the rest of the deck, though. All right, so Command Zone. We've got Malignant, and that's simply to give us access to another Malignant, basically. And then we've got Martyr of Death, which is a little unusual, but I've been playing with it and I like it because you can use Dark Wish to reanimate a character, which is generally not what people do with it, but this deck is going to take advantage of that. If Martyr of Death is in our graveyard, we can basically get his effect again for a fairly low cost. As for characters in the deck, we only have 3, and it's 3 more Malignants. The card's just crazy good, so that's why that's there. We've got Gather Thoughts and Recycle, which are just good cards for ability-based decks in general, but in particular, we're trying to use Acquire to win the game most of the time. There are some times where we'll actually just kill them with damage with like Malignants and stuff, but it's not what normally happens. The Calamity basically lets us solve any problem, if once we've got 11 resources. And then we've got Lightning Blast, which is just a standard good card. Blood Arrow, which is a little weird because we don't have that many characters, but what we do have is Malignants are very easy to sacrifice because they come back. We don't have to feel bad about losing them. Blood Arrow also lets us put Martyr of Death or a Malignant from the command zone into the graveyard very early to take advantage of bringing them back. And if Alearem fails, she's really useless. She's just a 0/10, so might as well use her as fodder for Blood Arrow. We already talked about Anger of Roria. Death Ray doesn't really need much of a discussion. It's just a good card. Acquire is our win condition. We already talked about that. Annihilate also doesn't need much discussion. Just a good card. Dark Wish is super versatile. We can use it to reanimate Martyr of Death, but we also use it for just about everything other than making a 10/10 demon. And then we have Overcharged Storm and Mass Death, 2 of each, and the reason why we have 2 of each is to diversify the kinds of board wipes we have, because Mass Death can't kill things like Cavalry Paladin. Cavalry Paladin. And Overcharged Storm loses to cards like Martyr Golem. So they make up for each other's weaknesses. And we've talked about Ruins of Roria a little already. Super crazy with Alearem. And then we've got 2 Summoning Stones, which are there to produce defenders for us, or in some cases, they can actually close out the game and win the game for us. All right, so that is the deck. Alearem is a weird card. I don't know how good I think she is. When I initially was testing this deck, when the Rebellion patch came out, which was a long time ago actually, I thought this deck was going to be top tier. But the problem is that people don't tend to fall for it twice. Like, you get some really cheesy game 1 games in ranked where they just get completely wrecked by Ruins of Roria, but by game 2 they're expecting it. So I don't know if I can rightfully say that this card's very good in ranked, or whether Alearem is very good. But the card's certainly interesting. The deck is certainly interesting. And what I will say is that if we ever see a shift to a super, super, super aggressive meta, the earlier your opponent is trying to kill you, the more powerful Alearem becomes, because it's much easier to guess when an aggro deck will kill you than when a control deck will kill you, because control decks can kill you anywhere between like turn 10 and turn like 10 million, whereas an aggro deck, you can say with a fair bit of confidence that it's going to kill you somewhere between like turn 5 and turn 8, depending on like how the game goes. All right, so enough with that. We're going to hop into a game and just test it out. All right, so we're actually up against Hacker, the infamous, famous, legendary Hacker. But aside from that, this is what you're prompted with At the beginning of every game, you have Alearem. Unfortunately, it makes it a little hard to see what's going on back here, but he's got a Veror Descendants of the Dragons Exiles deck, and I can see Tibat, Yuanchi, and Adaptive Brute. So I'm going to say that he'll kill us turn 12. Maybe that's too late. Trouble is that because of Yuanchi and Tibat, there's a very real chance that he's just going to end up killing our Alearem very early on, which kind of sucks. So we'll actually go with turn 9. We can hope that our Alearem will live. It probably won't. If we're lucky, we can actually draw a bunch of Anger Varorias and kill ourselves, as crazy as that sounds. But as you can see, we don't really, we're playing an extremely reactive deck, and it's very likely that that Hacker's deck is also very reactive, which means that we're probably going to see very little happen early on. I'm Lightning Blasting here in the case that he plays Yuanchi's, but then again, he probably won't. And he did. Ah, oh, man. I missed tempo. Shoot. Okay, so we'll just kill Yuanchi himself now. We're not going to use our blood arrows at all because we want Alearem to be alive, as hard as it's going to be. Just reshuffling one blood arrow. Oh, man, I really misplayed by not having faith in myself, not using a lightning blast, and now we're going to lose our entire command zone to Tibat. Not really anything we could do about it. That's too bad. This is unfortunately not a matchup that showcases Alearem or the deck. Why don't we search our deck for a card? We're just going to start using acquires. Yeah. And why don't we do Blood Arrow, and we're going to play acquire. How many cards is this deck? 32. It's possible that Hacker is also using a acquire win condition, which would be annoying. Adaptive Ritualist does make why did he death ray his own guy? I mean, I know why, but it's ugh. Anyways, the reason why he death rayed his own guy is so that he can play more Tibats, probably. But it's just disturbing to me. It's just so it feels so wrong. Why don't we're gonna get the engine going. We're not gonna play our Varorias this game because Alearem's already dead. And Contained Parallel Rift is the exact kind of card we're gonna want. And he is using an acquire deck as well. But there's a very real possibility that we're just gonna do what he's doing better than he's gonna do it. Why don't we throw out a Death Ray here, and we're gonna do acquire, gather thoughts, and of course what we're just trying to do is gather thoughts the acquires back into our deck, because we're just trying to chain all these acquires. I'm kind of, why can't I see his deck? Is his deck there? Is it underneath something? Oh, it's 23 cards left. We're just gonna spam these acquires. If we steal his acquires, then we basically just win for free. And we're gonna have to discard here, but we don't care about a lot of these things. Probably should have discarded Zushan, but it's too late. He has priority. That's really too bad. Play that. And we have a pretty sick setup. We can go... and the reason I'm using recycle is just in case he puts something in my graveyard. We're gonna put hopefully 3 acquires back into our deck, which is a pretty flipping insane. We're gonna have to discard, and we're of course gonna discard our malignants because we want them in the graveyard. Likewise, we're gonna discard Martyr of Death into the graveyard. I think it's better like that. And acquire, we acquired one of his acquires, so I'm pretty sure we win the acquire war. How did... Oh, it's because I discarded it. Ew. Oh well. Wait. I don't know, man. How many? So this has 1 life right now. Does it not have lives? I have priority right now. I can just kill it, and I don't have to deal with that thing ever again. So we're recycling and acquire. What a fun interactive game. This is actually a horrible representation of how this Infinity Wars usually plays. All right, let's discard Blood Arrow. Martyr of Death again. And Lightning Blast. Yeah, so one of the key things about if you're against another deck that's trying to win with Acquire, it's crucial to spam off your acquires as quick as you can, because if you start taking their acquires, then it's a uphill battle for them. Oh, okay. Everything dies. And we can do a double acquire this turn. Oh yeah. He has almost no cards left in his deck. And we also got a bazillion malignants back. I didn't even realize that. We could lose to Morale because these stupid malignants. I mean, if we want, we can actually Blood Arrow to kill them. But right now we have 78 morale, so I'm not really worried about it. Oh, and we just got his two of his Linbao's wills, so I don't think... Yeah, he's out of cards in his deck too, because Acquire's taking his last 3. So I'm pretty sure that's just game over. Really cheesy game, won by Acquire spamming. Might as well give one of these guys a second life. We're gonna discard these things. He's probably commenting on how stupid this game was. And why not? So he's out of cards in the deck. That's why we're not seeing a number over there. And we might as well make a 2020 demon. It'll actually be a 2121. Sure. Ruins of Roria is worthless to us. Rip, my guy died. Right, we'll just play Mass Death because we can. Actually, maybe it'd be better for us to do double Lidbow's Will. Well, we can't kill that, so maybe not. Yeah, maybe double Linbow's Will. Mass Death is the best move. Yeah, so he doesn't have much time left. He has priority right now. So we can't kill this. Our acquires don't do anything anymore, or specifically his acquire doesn't do anything anymore. We'll just do a Death Ray, Annihilate, Yuan-Shi's, in case we actually manage to kill something out here, because then he would die this turn. And we have priority, so we can kill that. But wouldn't matter either way, because Hacker is going to lose due to his running out of cards. All right, so that was a gross match. Gross is probably the right way to put it. I am very happy that this is not how most games are, where almost nothing really goes on the battlefield and you just spam removal and acquires the whole game. That's just kind of how the mirror match is, I guess. Yep, that's it. Hopefully we get matched up against a deck that we can actually show Alearem doing the Alearem thing. Let's move on to another game. Okay, we're in our second game, everybody. This is a very unique deck that I have seen before. We'll talk about that in a sec. I picked turn 7 because this is fairly aggressive for a double Varroa deck. And the way this deck works is it plays these Hellkeepers, and then the Hellkeeper puts 0-cost 6/6s into the deck, and then evilly can pull those 6/6s with flying out of the deck for 1 resource. You could do that every turn. Pretty strong. I like the deck a lot. Hopefully we're going to be able to showcase Alearem here. So one of the things that I like to do against, and this is not the strategy that I would recommend, but I like to feign that I can't do anything early on. Like, I could Blood Arrow that, but I don't want him to think that I can do much right now. Like, I am not going to play Annihilate on evilly, even though it would probably win me the match, because what we're trying to do is bait out the turn 7. So we're gonna play Malignant, which is the easiest thing for him to predict. Looks like he didn't predict it, but that's okay. Why don't we play Acquire and Gather Thoughts? Try to dig for maybe Anger of Aurorias or something, and just I'm expecting that his play this turn is to Lightning Blast Malignant and get in for a lot of damage. We just need the Alearem thing to happen for the video, man. We can't make an Alearem video where we don't get to see Alearem do the thing, man. Yeah. Okay. We did get an Anger of Aurora. We also got one of his demons, which is kind of funny. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do here? Why don't we play Malignant? And you might be thinking, like, why are you doing these? These are bad moves, platform. Why are you making bad plays? It's like, because I want to make horrible plays until next turn, where I am going to try to do as much damage to myself as humanly possible. Why don't we play the demon as well? Just to make it seem like we're trying to do something, and we're gonna discard Adaptive Brute. And recycle. Okay. Okay. Now we pray. We pray. Okay, so Runes of Aurora is going to put us at 23 or 22, depending on how this works. And then Anger of Aurora is going to put us at like 12 or 13. So if he attacks with like anything, we're in. We made it. Let's see it happen. Let's see it happen. And I got a comment on the Shadow Man. Look at that looming shadow cast on the battlefield. I like that a lot. Okay. We did it, unless he kills his own guys. Am I horrible at math? I was at 55, which means I was gonna lose half of 55 is, yeah, no, half of 55 is like 27. I don't know why I said 23. It doesn't matter. He killed us. Anyways, Alearem, the Fate Twister's ability has triggered. And boom, we're at full health. We have our beautiful Ruins of Aurora up and running now. We can actually just lay down the business now. It doesn't really matter what we shoot. Maybe we shouldn't shoot him. We're already so close to turn 10. Why don't we just Death Ray? So he's waiting. Oh, he thinks he can win the Acquire game. The answer is, if the last match was any indicator, if he stole like even one of my acquires, we are completely boned. We have lost. So why don't we actually search our deck right now? There's one acquire, two acquires, three acquires. He didn't get it. So we're gonna put one acquire in our hand. We have priority here. So even if he plays another acquire, he has a very low chance of getting, or at least he has a lower chance of getting our acquires now. Alearem's worthless now. Might as well toss him. Am I doing something wrong? There we go. It's just that weird bug where sometimes you can't click on your cards. Oh, he's going all in. All in on us. But the thing is, they'll all die. And I get it. He's doing it before I can Martyr of Death everything. But I'm kind of okay with getting slammed in the face when his characters all die. Like, we can actually kill him with damage at this point. Like, just boom, gone. Or we can kill him with morale. I mean, it's kind of low. We could play Martyr of Death as just an aggro character right now. The other option would be double acquire, but I think we can kill him faster with damage at the moment. It's possible that he's got mass death, but I think we're in such a privileged position we don't need to care. Well, I mean, we can test the validity of my claim now. Um, this thing's super scary. Because that guy can hit from anywhere between 2 and 2 million damage. I might spam off Mass Death. I might play Acquire. I think Mass Death is going to be the better option. And maybe I recycle something? Recycle for Annihilate? Annihilate would have a guaranteed kill on Varroa Magic Siphoner. That would be something that would give me some peace of mind. One more thing I will say is that even if he does go in with the Magic Siphoner at some point, is that when his characters connect, he still loses the morale when they die. So even if he kills me, he's got such low morale at this point that there's a very, very high chance that he just dies because his characters are dying whenever they actually accomplish anything. I think I might do double Acquire Gather Thoughts, because I think the Malignant should be able to defend fairly well. We're gonna use our Summoning Stone because either they're gonna defend this turn or he's killing them, in which case I will need another character to defend next turn. One thing I do need to watch out for is Death Blast, because he's got 10, 15 characters, it looked like, in the graveyard. Death Ray there. We only need to kill like one thing now, because these are going to connect. And now he's at 8. That's, oh, Agent Coil Soulcell is only 5 morale? Rough. That's rough. Like I said, we can defend here. We could also use it for Blood Arrow. Yeah, actually, if we let me think. What if we did this? Kidnapped. Is this targeting Agent Coil or not? Am I doing something wrong? Isn't there supposed to be a line? Let me try targeting something else. Well, for science, we'll find out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Blood Arrow that for 10 damage, Lightning Blast it for 4 damage, and then Chain Lightning it for 4 damage. That should be enough to kill it. It's 10 morale. He will die to morale. We're going to defend with our Demon. And we will see if the Kidnapper actually worked or not. Okay, it did. I don't know why there wasn't an arrow. But looks like we won. And you guys got to see the craziness that is Alearem plus Ruins of Auroria. So why don't I sum up this video by talking a little more about Alearem. So Alearem, I think, is not the strongest card. I don't think that Alearem is ever going to be a top tier deck, or at least it isn't with the current cards in the game. Maybe tier 2. What I will say is that that being considered, I think Alearem is a super awesome addition to the game because it is an extremely skill testing card that creates a very interesting match for both the person playing Alearem and for the opponent who has to play around Alearem. Like when you're playing against Alearem, you're constantly thinking, oh, like, what turn did they choose? And if you're playing with Alearem, you're like trying to bait them into killing you. It's a very cool card, but it's just not a very good one, I don't think. And part of that is because, like, in the first game we saw, sometimes Alearem just dies. The other thing is that it's an opportunity cost. You could use another card instead of Alearem, like Rita or something. Like Rita's just super good. There we go. But I think it's a super cool card. It's good to have in the game. It spices things up. I think that what I will say is that Alearem is, because it's so skill testing on both you and your opponent, Alearem is more and more powerful the better you are at picking which turn you think your opponent is going to kill you. Like if you have a really good understanding of how fast every deck in the meta can kill you. And it's also, its power is affected by how good your opponent is playing around it. So I think that the point when Alearem is strongest is when the player using Alearem is super skilled and the player playing against Alearem is not as familiar with the card. Admittedly, you might say that for everything, like the better player is generally going to win, but I think Alearem is such a skill testing card that it exacerbates the advantage that a skilled player has. And I think I briefly mentioned this before, but Alearem is also more effective against very fast decks, like because it's much more apparent when they are going to kill you. Like against Flame Dawn, you can play Ruins of Veroria as early as turn 5 if your opponent has amassed a pretty strong board state. And they could kill you on turn 5 because you're doing a lot of work for them with Ruins of Veroria. So really cool card. Last thing I will say about it is I haven't tested this yet, and I don't know if I will, but one thing that you could try is using Alearem without Ruins of Veroria, in which case, just to explain more, you didn't get to see it, but Ruins of Veroria is a super risky card. I have played games with this deck where I play Ruins of Veroria and my opponent just doesn't attack that turn, and I'm like, oh, I'm at 10 health now, and Alearem has already, missed the opportunity to heal me, so I've lost. So it's a very high risk, high reward card. But if you played Alearem without Ruins of Veroria, you'd actually be playing very low risk, but still very high reward. Not nearly as high as having full health and Ruins of Veroria, but still a very high reward. And the low risk, of course, is you forfeit a commander slot in Veror, which is ordinarily not a very big deal, especially in triple Veror, because frequently you're just killing everything, and you get your commanders killed at some point too, because you're going to play Calamity, or in the deck I was using, Martyr of Death. But yeah, so that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how you are using Alearem and what you think of the card. Until next time, everybody,